Have you ever found yourself in a relentless race, filling every second with noise, distractions, the next task, the next notification? What if I told you that right there, in the space you most run from, the silence, the quiet, the moment of nothing, lies the key to a peace you can barely imagine? Think for a moment. Why are we so afraid of emptiness? Why do we feel this almost irrational urge to fill every crack of time with something, anything, that prevents us from being alone with ourselves? The truth is, for many women today, life has become a marathon of multitasking, caring for others, meeting expectations. We are bombarded with information, opinions, and the constant feeling that we need to be constantly doing something to be valuable. But what happens when this incessant doing disconnects us from our deepest selves? What if your anxiety, that feeling that something is always missing, is actually a silent scream from your soul asking for a breather? Imagine for a moment the scene. The day ends, silence finally arrives in your home. And suddenly, you feel a discomfort. Your hand reaches for your phone. The TV turns on by itself. The list of unfinished tasks jumps into your mind. We avoid silence because it invites us to confront what's stored inside. Fears, insecurities, unfulfilled desires, even the unsettling quiet of a mind that never stops. The noise outside becomes a refuge from the noise or the void inside. But what if I invited you to see this silence not as an emptiness to be filled, but as a sanctuary to be explored? In ancient Stoic philosophy, long before the digital hustle, the power of introspection was already understood. Seneca, one of the great Stoic masters, said, "Nature has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen more and speak less." He wasn't just talking about external speech, but about internal turmoil. The Stoics understood that true freedom begins when you master your mind, and that rarely happens amidst the noise. It's in silence that you begin to hear yourself, to distinguish your own voice from the cacophony of the world. For us women, this lesson is even more crucial. We are taught from an early age to exist for others. The obedient daughter, the dedicated partner, the impeccable mother, the tireless professional. Our identities often intertwine so deeply with our roles and with external validation that we lose connection with who we are when no one is looking. Silence forces us to look at this disconnection. Think of the metaphor of a lake. When the surface is agitated by wind and rain, you cannot see the bottom. The water is murky, the image distorted. But when the wind stops and the waves calm, the surface becomes a clear mirror, revealing the depth and clarity of what lies beneath. Your mind is like that lake. As long as you are constantly agitated by external and internal noise, by multitasking and demands, your perception of yourself and the world will be murky. So, see what happens when you choose silence. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of yourself. It's an opportunity to reconnect with your intuition, with your inner wisdom. It's a space to process the emotions you've been pushing down, to reflect on your true values, to plan with clarity and not with reactivity. The Stoic practice of differentiating what is within our control from what is not finds fertile ground in silence. You cannot control traffic, others' opinions, or the day's news. But you can control your reaction to them, your attention, and crucially, the internal environment you cultivate. Silence is your control room. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed, anxious. What was your first reaction? Probably to seek another distraction, or to try and solve one more thing. What if instead you had stopped, just for 5 minutes, closed your eyes, breathed deeply, and allowed silence to enter? What would have changed? Probably the intensity of the emotion would decrease, and you would gain a small space to think more clearly, to respond instead of react. It's like the wisdom of nature. Trees don't scream to grow. They root silently. Seeds don't make a fuss when germinating. They absorb nutrients and light in quietude, preparing to sprout. Your own transformation, your deepest peace, may be germinating in the silence you've been avoiding. This is not an invitation to isolate yourself from the world, but to create small pockets of quietude in your busy life. Moments where you allow yourself to just be, without doing, without consuming, just existing. It's an act of radical self-love in a world that incessantly asks us to be always on. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, a contemporary sage, said, "Silence is essential. We need silence as much as we need air." This quote resonates deeply with the Stoic mindset. Silence is not a luxury, but a vital necessity for mental and spiritual health. It is the air your soul needs to breathe. It's where you can realign with your values, with your purpose, and strengthen your inner citadel, as Marcus Aurelius called our impregnable mental space. It is in silence that you can practice the Stoic premeditatio malorum, the visualization of potential adversities, in a calm and controlled way, preparing your mind for challenges before they arrive without being overcome by them. It is also the place where you can practice the visualization of virtue, imagining yourself acting with wisdom, courage, and justice in everyday situations. For the modern woman, this means finding moments of quiet to prepare for a challenging meeting, to deal with the frustration of raising children, or to navigate a complex relationship. It's not about escaping life, but facing it with an inner armor forged in silence. Now the question is, how can we bring this ancient wisdom into our frantic routines? How can we find the necessary silence when the world outside and our internal demands seem relentless? It's not about meditating for hours or retreating to a monastery, though these are valid practices for those who can and want to. It's about micro moments of quietude, small islands of peace you can create throughout your day. Start with 5 minutes. When you wake up, before grabbing your phone, just breathe and feel the quietness of your room. In traffic, instead of turning on the radio, allow yourself the silence. Observe the scenery without judgment. In the grocery line, instead of scrolling your feet, just feel your feet on the ground and pay attention to the sounds around you without getting caught up in them. The goal isn't to empty your mind, which is almost impossible, but to observe the flow of thoughts without being swept away by them, like clouds passing in the sky. This practice of observation is one of the pillars of Stoicism and mindfulness. It allows you to create a healthy distance between yourself and your thoughts, between yourself and your emotions. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are the consciousness that observes all of it. And when you become the observer, you gain the power to choose how to react, or rather, how not to react. It's a silent empowerment, but with a gigantic impact. For the woman who constantly finds herself reacting to criticism, expectations, or external pressures, this ability to non-react becomes a superpower. It protects your energy, your dignity, and your peace of mind. Think of a rock by the sea. The waves ceaselessly crash against it, but the rock remains firm, unshaken. It doesn't fight the waves, it simply is. To be like that rock in the Stoic sense isn't to be insensitive, but unshakable at your core. Especially for us women who often carry the burden of being the problem solvers and caregivers, learning to cultivate this inner silence is vital. It's in silence that you can recharge, realign, and remind yourself that your worth isn't in your productivity or your ability to please everyone. Your worth is in your very existence, in your essence. It's in silence that you find the courage to say no when necessary, to set healthy boundaries, to prioritize your own mental health without guilt. This is the true autonomy that feminine Stoicism proposes. Not that of a cold independence, but that of an inner strength that allows you to love and care deeply without losing yourself in the process. It's the ability to be gentle, but also to be firm, like an oak, with deep roots, capable of weathering storms. Silence invites us to face uncomfortable truths. Yes, but also to discover the most beautiful truth about ourselves, that we are resilient, capable, and stronger than we imagine. It's a return home to our deepest dwelling, which is our own consciousness. And paradoxically, by finding this peace within yourself, you become a source of peace for the world around you. Your inner calm radiates, influencing your relationships, your family, your work environment. It's a positive domino effect that starts with a simple, courageous act, embracing the silence you've been avoiding. How about starting today? It doesn't take much. Just a moment, a single moment where you allow yourself to turn off the noise and tune into the purest frequency of your own existence. Your peace isn't out there. It's waiting for you in the silence you fear, but which can be your greatest sanctuary. And if this idea resonated with you, if it touched something deep, then I invite you to take the next step. Like this video, because your like is a sign that we're building this community together. Share it with a friend, a sister, with someone you know is also seeking this peace and inner strength. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos, where we'll continue exploring how Stoic wisdom can transform your life. Your journey to a more serene, strong, and authentic life begins here.